Alrighty then, it's time for a Trundle game, and you guys know how much I love me some Trundle. So, I'll also rant a little bit about the new jungle tank item, because I honestly feel, that it's gonna end up being like Quill Coat version 2.0, in which it doesn't do anything because it comes a little too late. Sure, it will help out your mid game or later mid game and your late game, but honestly, most tanks at that point really don't need that help in clearing, so it's going to be mostly for team fighting. The Grom doesn't do anything unless you get bonus health, and again, you don't have any until you actually buy your first health item, which is around the like 6 minute mark. It's kind of a it is Quill Coat. It's like it just doesn't do anything for you. However, it will help you, just like the Quill Coat, maintain your speed in case you got fucked up or something. So I guess that's some merit in that. It's not going to help your early clearing, but it will help out your, uh, I don't know, little like 5 minute clearing or whatever. So my runes and masteries: attack damage red, attack damage quince, armor yellow, magic resistance blues with about 6 cooldown reduction blues, and 921 0 masteries. Now, here we pinged a teammate Riven to watch her back, but she ends up getting killed. Fortunately for her, spoiler alert, she's gonna get herself some first blood. I come down bottom, we catch ourselves a Nami, and this is not the best wall, but I'm gonna blame it on it being the first game of the day for me. So we end up also obviously killing Nami. There's no way she's gonna escape from the manly fist of Braum, even though he ends up dying too. So players actually keep still saying, why do I like Trundle? Why do I pick him? He's always been one of those champions who never really received any balance changes. He's kind of always been like the most perfectly designed champion in what he's supposed to do. Like, he's probably League's only true or at least master buffer. His strength comes from the enemy strength. It's as somebody on my Facebook channel put it. Also, look at this wall. This wall's actually beautiful. In front of her, deters her speed and forces her to walk around. This is the most one of the more type of perfect walls you can get. The one that knocks him back, which stuns him for a little bit, and then forces him to have to walk back and then around the wall, wasting so much time. And obviously, she gets caught. So, as somebody from my Facebook fan page said, I said Trundle is like being able to say this. Oh, you build AD? Not anymore. Oh, you have tank stats? Thank you. That's just how Trundle rolls. Like I like playing them versus AD casters because they're very reliant on their AD in order to do damage. So if I bite them, their damage goes to shit. Like, actually, here's a good example. I make sure to bite Zed during his combo, though I don't get it before he does the majority of his damage, which is not the point. The wall, once again, forces him to have to go around it, allowing me to just catch up and finish him off. Jarvan, I make sure to also bite his ass and sort of stick around here, so his damage goes to nil. I actually hope you noticed one thing. I only retreated from the Jarvan after I had bitten him because I wanted him. I didn't know if I was gonna live or die, but I needed to make sure I robbed some of his AD so he'd do less damage to me during the chase, at least even for a little while. So it didn't make any impact, but it's still something to keep in mind. These little subtle things could make a little minutiae of difference, right? Like maybe you survive with a sliver of health, or maybe they give up because they realize you don't do enough damage. And that's actually going to become an important point later in the game. Just watch when I bite Jarvan or whatever and how little damage he actually gets to deal. Or later into the game when my bite is max rank and I just take away like I forgot how much it was, but I know it's upwards to like 30 AD from them with one rabies bite. 30 or less, I actually don't remember. Still, once again, my walls are stupidly annoyingly strong here. It ends up forcing like a lot of power from the enemy team. It's like they burn their flashes just to escape. Like a lot of players, and you're gonna see this with Zed. Watch the Zed in several times. Several players don't realize when you're fighting Trundle, you do not hug the wall or any object ever. It's gonna get you fucked over. Trundle's wall is a sort of circle per se. It's like a It's not a square, even though it looks like a pillar. It has like a circle shape. So I don't know how it works in the wireframes or the little circles or whatever. But actually, I'll go back to that. This is actually another little tidbit with Trundle. The enemy team ganks my team, and I'm forced to run away. Watch how I use the wall. I slow Jarvan because he was getting too close. I put the wall at the edge of the grass so they can't enter it and gain any line of sight on me. I would have kept running as natural, but Aurelia ended up teleporting inside the Flash. Anyways, back to what I was saying about Trundle's wall. It's a circle, so try to make a circle with your hand right now. I don't know the wireframes or the hitboxes how they indicate, so I'm gonna assume it's like it could be like a hexagon or something too. But if you put it up on against the wall, like right here, a little forward against the wall or a little weirder against it, the enemy team has to go around it. It doesn't have edges; it has smooth, so it can be a little bit fucked up. I'm trying to come up with a. I haven't come up with a word for it, so I'm just calling it the V of Doom. If you were to put your circle against another circle or against a rectangle in a way that it forms a V, but still touches it, it will trap players. Again, the Zed will be trapped in one instance using this. And in fact, I think I trapped two people doing this. And what the worst thing about it, and I honestly think there's nothing Riot can do about it, is that it screws up pathing. You cannot click in front of it, or else your character goes in full form retarded. Like you have to actually click behind it and then go, or I mean, yeah, click behind you and then go around it. And the person who's panicking when they're being chased or who just doesn't know better, they're gonna panic, click panic, and you're gonna see them go back and forth between that little space, and obviously waste a lot of time. That's for those. That's like the dream was Trundle. Just imagine on every little part here you could put it, in which only the tip of the tip of the circle touches it, but you put it in a way that there's like a tiny little V being created from the wall and the circle. I don't know. I can't really describe it using my voice. It'd be better if I drew a diagram, but I can't right now. Anyways, Jarvan dives me, and I just if Jarvan ever decided to dive me by himself, he would have died smack dab. I'd spank that ass. Unfortunately for me, my teammates there to reciprocate and pretty much destroy them. That was probably one of their dumbest things, and it kind of I believe cost them their lead. Like they were dominating, and that one attempted inhibitor ended up costing them 3 lives, half of the time his health, forcing a retreat, and just bounties. Bahoy, we just bounced back. I hope you're noticing something too. I'm maxing out my W second, and sometimes you will max out your E second. If you max out your E second, you have more spammable walls, especially if you get cooldown. It allows you to control the terrain better. Look at here. Actually, this is the Zed getting trapped with the V. Look how he has a little space to go forward, but he gets stuck for in two ways. One, when it hit him, it knocked him back, at least stunning him a little bit, I guess, because he made him airborne, and he tried going back and forth, and it sort of got him stuck even further. I don't know how that works, but I've seen it happen, and I assume it happens with that Zed there. And he just accepted his fate. I think he used his ultimate in an attempt to try to escape. Of course, he also did a very stupid thing of using his W to harass, knowing full well we had some CC that could possibly catch him. I went gung-ho and caught him. So, at worst, it would have cost him his flash, but he ended up just dying instead. I believe his flash had just barely come off cooldown. So, yeah, that's what I mean by the V shape. I believe one more opponent of mine gets trapped in that same thing in this game, so you'll see another example. Uh, Either way, Trundle, like I love him using him against tanky champions and using him against bruisers who go one offensive item and then tanky, because for starters they're relying heavily on that one offensive item to come up with their damage, and if I bite them just once, their damage could go to the shitter in some cases, especially in the cases of like what you call it, Jax. I love fighting Jax as Trundle. And if they use their ult, and if they have a lot of tankiness, I'll just rob them of their tankiness. You'll see it. In one point, I believe I used my ultimate on Irelia, and I gained over 100 armor. It's ridiculous. It's way later into the game. Either way, as I was saying, if the build I'm going with Trundle is the Bruiser build, like a Bruiser tanky build. I buy Blade of the Rune King and I max out W first. I intend this to I get the free stats from my W so I can just wail on people and murder them, but I also need to be tanky to survive and protect my teammates. However, I also need to point out that my team is not the most prolonged fighting crew out there. My team composition sort of relies on the Riven and the Katarina tearing the enemy to pieces really quickly. So and the Ash helping initiate and all that good stuff, right? So I reasoned to myself, you know what? If I max out E first, my walls may not make that much of an impact because if we can't kill them in the first, first instances of the fight, then what use is the wall going to be aside from possibly retreating or something? So I took the W stats to help contribute to the combat, and the E just and the E kept it at rank 1 because I think I'll only be able to use the wall once during the fight. In other cases, if my team was more prolonged, if we had more like Jax and Lucian and stuff, I would max the wall first. I could spam it. By the way, this wall wasn't the best. It actually kind of hurt my teammates too. We give chase, we get engaged on this whole fight's kind of a mess. Me and the Katarina get obliterated, and Ash, I believe, only gets to take down one character. Yeah, so it ends up being a 2-for-2. The Jarvan would have died regardless. So yeah, 2-for-2 on this. It's even, but we still have the advantage. We've got the map control. We've taken over towers, and we're working together as a team. Now, in this case, Riven trades her life for the Nami, and you can just tell this is one of those Rivens who is really good at Riven, but really, really greedy too. Nonetheless, I do feel Trundle was an amazing choice in this game. The enemy had both Irelia and Jarvan, two champions I like to destroy as Trundle. I'll either rob them of their DPS when they build only one item, or just rob them of their stats if they build tanky. And at the same time, I'll be ridiculously hard to kill, and they can't burst me down, so I'll just beeline for their carrier or whatever. Nami is actually one of the bigger problems for Trundle, and Zed is hard to gank as Trundle, but he really can't kill me either, so it's kind of a neutral point there. Yeah, Nami is the only problem, and she's honestly one of the worst ones to deal with as Trundle, but luckily the rest of my team is able just to draw her attention. I go on the Nami, and it's not the best engage, but the enemy team, I don't believe, was in the best position to take advantage of our mistake, or my mistake, actually. So they die for the Ashe, we turn around, and we just peel for her as much as we can. She's unfortunately going to die to the Zed, because that's what the Zed do to carries without mobility. But fortunately for us, we kind of cleaned the rest of them up. We kill the Jarvan, we kill the Zed, and the enemy team backs away while the Riven starts trying to push top. And I decide to trundle the shit out of her. I go in, smite, so he stops her return, and I just keep vision on her just to keep her from going back. The wall nudges a character a little bit, so it forces her to no longer be able to recall. Unfortunately, my Riven died, and the second I saw that, I'm bailing. The Relic could turn around and possibly kill me, though it would take a very, very long time. I get the blue because I'm low on mana, but I can't exactly go back. I'm buying Randu and Zoman and then Spirit Visage, obviously just to make myself even more invincible. Though, at this point, like, just draining one person, I'll become God. This is probably the worst wall I had, and my excuse for that is because, I have a bad knack of pressing space when I'm chasing, and it makes my camera go all fucked. But even then, it was still it's an unforgivable wall, even though it didn't really do anything because we kind of got the kill from that anyways. Sorry, I'm gonna have to clear my throat. Still, though, you can see we're dominating the map. One of the Trundle's other great strengths is his globe-trotting ability. You can see me. I am mobile as shit throughout the map this entire game. I can show up to places. My wall can deter opponents, and it can do all sorts of crazy things. One of my favorite things is the wall that a lot of people don't give it credit for is the line of sight. I can put it in the bushes, or I can put it somewhere far, and it will reveal the fog in certain places. Or better yet, it just completely scares the shit out of people because they know if they go through it, they might not be able to go back behind it. Like the Jinx and the Nami, I don't think they tried moving because they didn't know what to do around the wall. I've seen opponents before when I put the wall on them, they're like, do I move through it or do I move away from it? It's like, if they move through it, again, they might be trapped or whatever. If they move away from it, they lose some precious times of DPS. I know it's kind of silly, but I've seen it happen. And especially as melee champions, they don't know if they should stick around to it. Either way, it's not as effective if I have rank 1E because I can't just spam a wall and spam it again. Either way, here I actually trapped Aurelia in the sort of the V, but my camera work wasn't the best right there. I trapped her in between the little corner where that torch is and the wall, so she had to go slightly back and then go around. Remember, when it comes to ganks and whatnot, by the way, here I don't know why the hell the fucking Jarvan jumped me. I'm like, I'm nearly invincible. You don't have the damage to kill me at this point. So especially if I ult somebody. Either way, Uh, the precious seconds in team fights or in ganks are important. So if your target has to spend the time or even half a second going back so they can go around through a slow and a wall, then they're about probably fucked already. And that's why that whole little circle V crap thing is important to understand. If you can trap your opponent in such a way in which the wall forces them to have to reconsider their pathing, you've already doomed them to death. And also that thing too. If you manage to get the wall not on top of them because it sometimes just messes up and just shoves them without actually slowing them. If you get the wall just to nudge them a little bit, it tends to freeze them for half a second or so. So I guess you can consider that a knockup too. It's odd. I don't know if the wall is the best program thing ever. By the way, here it's just amusing. It took me quite a while to die, even with the armor shred and the jinx just blasting away with me. And that's going to be a foreshadowing of what's going to happen once I get even more items. So though the enemy team is getting Baron, my teammate Riven is feeling brave. And honestly, if it wasn't for like one more attack from Baron, she would have gotten the kill. Riven sacrifices herself, but fortunately for us, she ends up stopping them from Baron. Katarina goes in, but doesn't manage to get a kill up until the Ashe shows up. I believe the Katarina gets killed. Yeah, gets killed. And the Ashe manages to pick off 2 kills. The Zed's is just kind of funny. He got shotgun blasted in the face with arrows. So yeah, Trundle's role in most games is really just to be the most annoying bastard there. Also, once again, the V-shaped thing worked there, except it didn't nudge her into the V, or she wasn't there already, so she knew not to go into that path or else she'd be trapped, so she just went around it. Still though, it forced out, it forced her to go back, and really to no cost to me, my cooldowns are low enough. Once again, though, the Zed still hasn't learned his lesson, and I will do the same damn thing here. Not exactly the V shape, but it's gonna trap him. I trap him in between the turret, and he just can't get the hell out. Like I said, I don't know how that whole thing, the path thing, is programmed, or if it's intended to happen. But if you're trapped in between 2 objects because of a player-made wall and you try to click around it, your character goes all full stupid and can't escape. You rewind it again. The Zed went forward, back twice, and it was just kind of amusing to me, and it screwed him over. His reaction was that of panic. So yeah. This game goes well for my team. We're just slaughtering everything. We were taking control of the map, and honestly, that mistake they had early on where they died to our towers really helped reset the fight, and it helped us get on even ground. And when it comes to team fights, I figure my team is a billion times better, even though they have some flavor of the month champions. Trundle just debuffs wherever they have, allowing the Riven to just melt them even further. Ashe will slow anyone trying to get through, and me and Brahma as bodyguards, Ashe would be completely safe except against the Zed. But fortunately, if the Zed goes in, then no one will be there to stop the Katarina, really. Because if they all try to dive the Ashe, I mean, the Katarina would just tear Jinx to pieces, and the rest of the enemy team would die. So I just think my team combo is very well formed and prop too, I guess. So Trundle, I actually would recommend him as a champion to play in ranked, but only if you know how to use abilities like that wall, or how to just like be a fucking terror once you get massive. He's a bruiser, better played as a supporting tank kind of dude, and he can carry games, but again, he can't carry in the tradition of just slaughtering everybody unless you get super fed. He carries in the way in which you just completely deteriorate an enemy team. Still though, hooray for my team, hooray for Trundle. Like I said, I wholeheartedly recommend you learn him. He's really fun to play.